Hey gorgeous! So we're less than 2 weeks out from the wedding, so we've gotten a lot of stuff done this week. It's been good. It's at a point now, I hope I'm not jinxing myself, but it's at a point where I think we actually might be done, like, with time to spare. So that's the hope. We'll see how that goes. Currently, we finished our seating chart. We were actually late, so I lost track of time, I guess. We were supposed to have the seating chart in by a certain date, like by Friday, and the venue coordinator, we emailed her on Friday, or no, she called us on Thursday because we sent an email and it was kind of a long email, and we were going back and forth, but we were kind of misinterpreting what the other person was saying. So she tried to call me, I missed the call, and then I told Jake, I was like, I can't do this today. So he ended up calling her back, then they had a conversation. So we figured everything out, and she was able to give us an extension to Monday, which is tomorrow. But we already sent everything to her via email, because we just had to, on Monday, like this past Monday, we had Jacob's parents over so that we could go over the seating chart and make sure people were sitting with the right people, or like they would be okay sitting with those people. And that was very helpful because we had to make a lot of movement. So, good thing. Jake's side of the family that's coming is a little bit smaller, and it's not like they like mostly get along. There are a couple people that like we switched around, or some people where like we didn't know they were friends, so we just had them at random tables, and so we got to mash them together so they could sit by people they knew, because we didn't really know, well, I didn't really know who was who, and Jake's kind of like, oh yeah, everybody gets along and they can sit anywhere. So we got that figured out on Monday, and it was nice to have his parents over and just chat. And but then we couldn't get to visit my parents until Friday, which is why we didn't have our seating chart done. But then at my parents', we only had to move one person to a different table. So it almost seemed like, oh, what was that for? But it helped. And so now the seating chart is done, and we wrote out our whole list of like the guest name, what their food choice is, if they have any allergies, if they have any special requests, like there's some kids coming, so we put like high chair for certain ones, or things like that. So we have that all squared away. All our questions, well, not all of them have been answered, but I think everything has been set up. I've mentioned, I think, the way our venue works is for every person under 250 people, which is how many we invited, we get $50 back. And then we get like $10 back for every kid's meal. So it worked out to us having about a little more than $2,000 that like we didn't have any plans for. Like we were planning to get a popcorn like late night snack, but that was only like $230. So we had like $1,800 that we still need to spend. And so the thing I've been stressing out about this whole time about like, we have to spend this much on alcohol, and then like we'll have to skip food at cocktail hour and people are gonna be mad about it, but we can't afford it. Now it's like, okay, so the amount of wine, according to the venue coordinator, the amount of wine we need is like so many bottles, and that didn't take all of our money like I thought it would. So now we actually will have past sliders, like pulled pork barbecue sliders, like little minis. We'll have those passed around. More, like, it's a little more than one per guest, so hopefully people don't take too much, or everybody can at least try one. But we have that going around, and we'll have like a few platters of just like meat and cheese and vegetables and dips being passed around too. So we're actually going to have a cocktail hour, which is what I stressed about so much, and we're going to have enough wine for everybody, enough beer for everybody, and liquor is still cash bar. We still couldn't swing like having cocktails, but at the end of the day, I feel like most people will be happy with what we provided because they're used to this kind of wedding. So yeah, it's nice we have that all figured out and it's basically done. And we had a couple more questions, but they're more just like small logistical things that don't like, oh, how many chairs can we have on each side of the aisle? Because I printed off like reserved signs. We printed off our seating chart. We just got that from Office Depot today. It's just on foam board. And we got like an automatic upgrade because we picked like the matte finish because it was the cheapest. But they're just like, oh, well, we were out of matte. We only had glossy, so you got free glossy. I'm like, sweet, that's nice. So got that all picked up today. Today, Jake and I also went and got haircuts. His hair is a lot shorter now than it was. I only got like a little trim because I still have like the hairstyle plan that I put in the last video. So I can't have my hair short or we're not going to be able to braid anything. So that's also done. We finally scheduled hotels for our minimoon, so that's all squared away. We're still a little concerned about Chicago because we don't want to like drive in Chicago. We'd like to park outside and then take trains. So we're kind of concerned about how long the Chicago part of our trip is going to last because we still have other stops we want to make. But we have hotels booked. Everything should be set. It's just like that one day we're just like, we might have to rush a little bit to like do trains, but it's all good. And I'm excited for the stuff we do have planned. We cut some stuff that we're like, oh, we don't need to do that, or we can do another trip at a later date. It still will probably be like us going on the cheap. Like, I don't think we're gonna have like a full blown minimoon because we are saving to have a honeymoon in a couple years in Japan, and then we'll go hard on that and we'll probably do like a ryokan and like fancy stuff. But for now it'll be like a nice trip to have in between our wedding and our friend's wedding. So glad that we got that booked and we've decided what we're doing. The bakery actually called us before we could contact them, so it's actually funny. We ordered a 4-tier cake, and so I thought since our guest count has like gone down by a significant amount, because we started with like 240 and we're at 153, we're at 153 guests. And we ordered, originally it was a 3-tier cake, and we ordered a 4-tier to like feed everybody. And so I was like, oh no, we're gonna have way too much cake, we're gonna have to ask them to knock off a tier, which I'm sure they wouldn't mind. And so I was gonna mention that, and they're like, oh no, this cake feeds 160 people, so you're actually like set. Apparently we were like, they had added on an extra sheet cake because they couldn't put another, like they weren't gonna do a 5-tier cake for the amount of guests we had. So they just cut off the extra like half or however sized like sheet cake they were going to make. So it was still the same, and I asked for like 1 gluten-free cupcake for one of our guests. Unfortunately, they couldn't accommodate like nut-free and dairy-free. So we asked our venue, and that's one of the things we're still working out, is because our venue has desserts of their own, but they contract through the bakery, so they're not really supposed to like give us desserts. But I really want our guests with allergies to be able to have something to eat. So that's one thing we're trying to figure out is, I know they have desserts, so I'm just like, can you make this nut-free? Can you make this dairy-free so these people can eat them? Because that's really all I want. I'll pay the extra money. Like, we have a little bit left over in that like extra money pocket that we have. So I'm like, if we use that to pay for it, or if we have to pay out of our pocket, whatever we need to do. But I feel bad. I talked to my sister-in-law she has a severe like nut and tree nut allergy. And she's like, oh, I just don't expect to eat dessert at weddings. I don't expect you to accommodate that. But I was like, but I want to so bad. Especially because I know they have other desserts there, and I'm assuming they accommodate other people when they have allergies. So I'm just hoping that they actually have a solution for us, and that no one gets an allergic reaction. Like, that they don't tell me like, oh yeah, this is nut free, and then like she leaves because like she has, you know, anaphylactic shock or whatever it's called. And yeah, so here's hoping, because if they can't guarantee that it's safe, I don't want it. But if they can guarantee it, then I would like it. And Jake and I had we're silly. We celebrate our first date anniversary and our anniversary, and then now we're gonna have a week from our like original anniversary, we're gonna have our wedding anniversary. So now we're gonna have like 3 celebrations. But like we did our first date anniversary, and we just kind of hung out and like went out to a restaurant. Honestly, I feel bad because we didn't really hang out too much because I kind of got sucked into writing names on all the place cards now that we had all our guests figured out. So I wrote all the guest card names before I went and hung out with Jake for like a little bit. I should have hung out with him more, but we have our actual anniversary coming up this weekend, so maybe we'll do something fun for that, and then, you know, the mini moon after our wedding. So we'll have time to spend with each other. But just not that night, sorry, hun. And along with all the place cards, I also wrote all the like bridal shower thank you cards that night. Luckily, this bridal shower was smaller than the last one, so instead of writing 40 thank you cards, I think I only had to write like 10 or 12. So that was very nice. I still like, you know, made them all personalized, so it still took me a while, but I also wrote like 1 or 2 just normal wedding thank you cards from guests who sent us a gift but we know aren't coming. So it's one of those things where I know some people say you can send the thank you as soon as you get the gift so they know you got the gift, but I don't know, I like to thank people for attending as well. So if they sent me a gift but they're going to be at the wedding, I want to wait until after the wedding so I could send them a thank you like for being there and also for the present, if that makes sense. I don't know if you have to do it that way, but I just kind of wanted to wait on it. Maybe that's just me not wanting to do it right now, I don't know, but I want to wait on it. And I've gotten, you know, those 2 done already, so I guess that's something. Our officiant also, he wrote his speech that he wants to like put into the ceremony, because I asked him to just write something nice about us because we picked him because he was a friend. So we're like, oh, if you have any stories about us, you should throw it into there. I think all I said was like, oh, just like, don't embarrass the crap out of us. But he wrote something really sweet. I pasted it into the ceremony document. We still want to go over the document again at some point, just to like double check before I put everything into our officiant book. But I think we have it mostly squared away. Also tonight, Jake and I, we finished our vows. Like I have them printed and I put them in our officiant book. Like I just printed them, it fits on one sheet of paper. I just folded it, wrote my name on it, and like there's a little folder in the back of the book, so I put it in there. So we'll have our vows at the ceremony. I'm gonna try to memorize them, but I feel like I'm not gonna be able to do it, so it's nice to have them there. And Jake also finished his vows, and we've been kind of working on like, oh, what kind of speech do we want to give after the reception to thank people for coming, so we're working on that. And we're also writing letters to each other for the day of. I think mine's mostly done. I'm gonna look over it like once or twice more before I actually like finish it. And I know Jake has, I think he's finished his, or he's close to finishing his. So it's really just like the speech at the reception. And I might make one at the rehearsal dinner, because the reception speech I wrote, I thanked basically everybody, and it's very long. So I might just cut that out and either just write very nice thank you notes to all the people that I tried to thank in the speech, or try and say that during the rehearsal dinner, because all of them are going to be at the rehearsal dinner. And then just try and keep the thank yous at the reception to just like my parents, his parents, and then like him, like me talk about him and him talk about me. We're gonna try and stick to that so it doesn't take ages, because no one wants to stand there for ages. Let's see, what else? I printed the bar sign, I printed the reserve signs. Jake's still gonna make some, we have this like really thin like plywood kind of wood, so he's going to try and use that to make, we couldn't find a frame. We don't want to spend money on a frame just for the bar sign. So I think he's going to cut out a rectangle. We just printed on paper. We're just going to stick it to the rectangle with double-sided tape, and then he's going to make a little block to go underneath it to make it a standing sign. And the reserve signs we're just going to tape to chairs. We don't care if they look bad or not. Because we have like, it's so funny. Jake's side, we have like one reserve sign for like a row, because that's his immediate family. My immediate family is like 3 signs, because we need to take up 3 rows. And in the 4th row, I printed off 3 separate signs for my 2 flower girls and their mom, so that they can like just have a place to sit when they're done. Because I don't expect the girls to stand up there after they walk down the aisle. I expect them to go and sit by their mom and just watch, or just like not, feel like they need to stand the whole time. It's not going to be a long ceremony, I don't think. We still need to read through it, like I said, but I still don't want to make them stand up there. Honestly, if I didn't have so much family taking up the front rows, I would have considered letting my the whole wedding party just sit down, but oh well, we're going to do the traditional way where they stand up by us. When we called the coordinator, she also mentioned that we should have table numbers on both sides. And I'd already printed all of our table numbers on cardstock, and I'd done like 4 numbers per sheet of paper. So I couldn't just like shove them through the printer again and have them print on the same side. It wouldn't have worked. So I printed them all on just like regular paper, and then I used double-sided tape to just like stick it on the back and then cut the sides again so they were all even. It probably doesn't look the best, but I feel like more people are going to look at the one side. She said it's easier for servers to have it on both sides, but the way I was going to place the table numbers anyway, you wouldn't be able to see the back side unless like they shift how things go. So it was there in case, but we weren't really planning to use them. And I think for wedding-wise, I think that's it. I think I've talked about everything. Oh, one really sweet thing. I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but it's funny. So when I first started wedding planning, it was summer of last year. And I'd mentioned to my employer has like a really beautiful garden. They work really hard at it. They have a really nice, they have like a vegetable patch, a bunch of flowers. Like it's gorgeous. And I don't really know anything about flowers, but there was one I saw that I'd never seen before. So I asked oh, what's this? And she said, oh, that's a dahlia. And I was like, oh, because I've heard of black dahlia, but I didn't really make the connection. I honestly don't really know what black dahlia is. I think it's a murder, right? But I didn't really, I didn't know that's what that looked like. And I was like, that's a very pretty flower. And I kind of asked her oh, are they really hard to grow? Because I briefly considered trying to plant my own flowers before I decided just to go with clutches, because they were easier and less of an allergy thing. And she kind of mentioned they were pretty hard. They're grow from tubers, and you can't really sometimes you can't trust them to actually grow properly. And she told me the other day at work, she was like, oh, by the way, I planted some dahlias for you. So if she's like, I can't, like, I don't know if they'll still be nice in, like, when your wedding comes up, but if they are, like, you can totally come out and, like, I'll do some cuttings for you and you can carry them as part of your bouquet. And I told her I wasn't doing a bouquet, but honestly, if she did have extra dahlias and they were like bloomed, they looked pretty, I would take it. I could like hold my clutch and then just like hold those, or like skip, maybe even just skip the clutch and hold them, because it's like, obviously I didn't plan on having a bouquet, but that's such a nice gesture for her to remember that from like a year, like, or I guess months, I suppose, because she had to plant it like this season, and I had no idea that she planted it for me, because she got like a special kind that was like a like wedding-y color. And yeah, they're not blooming yet, so I don't know if they'll be bloomed in time, or if, you know, some, like, one that she got at the same time has already bloomed and like died, and other ones are still like not even budded yet. So I'm not sure how it will go, but I thought that was the sweetest thing. So many people are so nice. Like, I know my friend Gabby is still working on 3D printed objects for me. Like, she gave me like the prototype of a thing I wanted, and I was like, this looks perfect. You don't even have to like make a new one. This is fine. But she's still been trying to make it like more crisp and look nicer, and she asked like, oh, are there any other like nerdy things you want me to make for you? And I was like, I can't think of anything, but if you think of something fun, go for it. And she just seems really into the idea, and it's so sweet of her to be helping out like that. I've got such great, like, I know such great people. It's really nice. And I think wedding-wise, that's it for this week. So it's getting closer. We're getting a lot done. Jake just needs to cut out some wood stuff. He's also going to cut out some little like wooden pieces to put our little wine corks on that I showed in the last video. So he's going to cut all those out at some point this week, hopefully, and then we'll have to, like, I don't know how we're going to glue them on, or if he plans to like screw things in. I don't know what we're going to do with the wine cork thing, but that's like the only, besides like trying to delegate, like, oh hey, is anybody able to like help us put gifts in our car, which I'm assuming we won't have many gifts. I really don't know, like, how many people actually bring a gift versus just like mailing it to us, or just like if we don't get one, or if we just get envelopes. I don't know how that works at weddings. It's been so long since I've like paid attention to that stuff, but I don't know if we'll have a bunch, or if like we'll be fine and we can just fit them all in our car. And like there are a few things, like I wanted to ask a friend of mine to take video of the first look because we won't have a photographer yet. And just like a few other like little favors, like, oh, does someone have a steamer? Does anyone have like black nail polish? Because my glasses have a scratch on them, and that kind of bums me out, because you can't see it here, but when the sun reflects on it, or light reflects on it a certain way, it shines like right on that spot where it's scratched, and I don't like that, so I'm gonna cover it up. I tried a Sharpie, but it's even more shiny. Anyway, I got sidetracked, but that's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!